I'm Michelle Pfefferman, founder and CEO of Equity at Work, and this is your DEI Minute, your go-to podcast for leaders looking to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Whether you're just starting out with DEI or looking to sustain your long-term successes, each episode will provide you with actions you can take to move DEI forward at your organization, all in 15 minutes or less. Before we get started, I'm really excited to let you know that my new book, Do DEI Right, is now available. This is your guide to the Equity at Work maturity model, which shows leaders how to make DEI part of every day and drive great results. You can get your copy through the link in the show notes or wherever books are sold. Today, I want to talk about how you can extend your DEI principles and desired impact out into your community outreach efforts. We find a lot of times when people come to us wanting help with their DEI work or projects or initiatives, they tend to be very internally focused. They go first to, can we improve our retention? Can we improve our recruiting? Can we take the bias out of different promotion processes or review processes? Those are all very important things to work on. And what a lot of people forget is that there are also a lot of amazing ways to bring your DI principles and goals and desired impact out into the communities that you work in, the networks you're involved in, the industry associations you're in, different academic partnerships, et cetera. So I'm going to take you through several of those different concepts here. And we've also covered this in some of our blog work. So if you would like to read more, please feel free to go to our website and the blog page, and you can read more on this work. So I think of the best practice really is to integrate DI into all the different ways you touch your employees, your business, your partners, and your communities. So we have a framework that has kind of like 3 circles to it. The center is very employee focused. So all the employee lifecycle processes are there, from attracting and interviewing to hiring and onboarding, and then developing, retaining, transitioning. All of those are very distinct places where you can integrate your DI work. Then it clicks out to the more organizational elements, which are things like bringing it and aligning it with your values, mission, and vision, defining the KPIs, aligning DI with your business KPIs, looking at roles and responsibilities, looking at policies, benefits, processes, and norms, intro communications, and professional development and career support. And there are many others, but those are kind of the core business operational elements that we also make sure that we cover as we're doing our DI work or DI assessments to make sure that they're integrated there. So really the third ring is the one we're going to focus on now, which includes things like networks and associations, corporate and nonprofit boards, academic partnerships, supplier diversity, marketing and external communications, community outreach, and philanthropy and give back. Now, given that we've got 15 minutes at the most to go through this, I'm not going to go deep on each of those boxes. But what I want to do is raise your awareness that all of those are opportunities to extend your DI work. And what we found is for our clients who are smaller or who have very long tenured organizations where there's not a lot of turnover, and so therefore not a ton of work that can be done through recruiting, that when they are touching the things in that sort of second ring I described around taking bias out of different processes and making sure all processes and policies and benefits are fully equitable, other things like that, they get really excited when they realize that they can also leverage their external work to really drive change. Because sometimes they get frustrated. There's not a lot to do from an employee standpoint in terms of recruiting and really changing the employee dynamic, but they still want to have an impact. DI is still really important to them. So some of the ways that we've seen our clients and other great organizations integrate DI into their outreach is maybe establishing a partnership with a couple of academic organizations that have a shared mission and investing in doing a lot of work with clubs on campus and maybe offering internships earlier than they historically may have, or being a speaker or running a class or sponsoring a key event, maybe a DI related event on a campus, or showing up for different affinity groups on campus. Lots of really great ways to establish partnerships. Those that have maybe bigger checks they can cut, may also sponsor a program or establish a foundation with a campus or something like that. So a lot of creative things to do there. Boards can also be a great place to get involved. So you've seen a lot of movement around getting more women on boards and getting more diversity on boards overall. Tends to be more targeted at senior executives, but helping those executives network and get on different boards can be great to bring that sort of DI focused perspective into another organization through a board membership. Getting on nonprofit boards can also be a really terrific way to extend a partnership, build a partnership, and extend those principles out. If you've got a nonprofit board where the nonprofit is focused on a initiative that's really near and dear to your organization, that can be another great way to help extend and bring help and assistance to that organization, extend your internal mission out to the external. Another one that we've seen a lot is for especially smaller companies, let's say their industry is trying to drive change in this space. And so they may partner up with people who may then otherwise be competitors to help come together around this topic, also sponsoring speaker events and bringing in business partners and other organizations that also may be small businesses to do something together. We've also seen a lot of fundraising happen that way or different philanthropy work. And it's a great way to also network with others in your industry that are outside of your specific organization. So it's kind of a win-win for that one. And then certainly external communications. This is a tough space to navigate because all of us are trying to be aware of the risk associated with, we go out on a limb and maybe really do a lot of communicating on a particular topic that as an organization we feel passionate about, but still doing that external communication, even if it's highlighting employees that you're really proud of or initiatives that you support, that can be a great way to just kind of spread the word amongst followers of yours that DEI is really important and the different ways that you invest in it can help spark some great ideas among other people. The final one I want to mention is supplier diversity. So this is one where any organization, big or small, can make a difference if you're really intentional about your spend with your suppliers. And suppliers can be suppliers of products, suppliers of service, business partners, vendors. There are a lot of different ways to kind of categorize people, but thinking about, the spend that you make externally to your organization, and then identifying, was there a portion of that we really want to make sure goes to some diverse suppliers? Supplier diversity is supported through a number of organizations that do certifications of different elements of diversity. So, and there are great resources to tap into. There are networks around, women business owned enterprises, minority certified businesses, LGBTQ certified businesses, veteran owned businesses. The list really goes on and on. Disabled. I mean, there are a lot of different great certification agencies. They can also help you tap into networks and job postings and things like that to help you find different diverse suppliers who've been certified. Also, working with your local chamber of commerce can be a great way to find some people, but really just being intentional about your spend. Are we trying to make sure that, we don't just sort of fall into kind of the same patterns of before? We really, stepping back and thinking about how do we kind of extend our values into the way that we spend out in the market. I'm not recommending that you ditch a former supplier that was wonderful but doesn't happen to be diverse. You absolutely don't want to do that. But just as contracts come up for renewal or so you have new opportunities to bring in service providers and materials and goods providers, this is a great way to just be really thoughtful and intentional about how you're screening those folks and determining if they're qualified to be a good partner for you going forward. Another piece I really like is where different small organizations come together and pitch in for a speaker or a consultant or someone who can really give really great guidance around how to navigate tough topics or issues that are tough for each of the organizations that are part of that event. And that can also help a lot if you feel like you don't have the budget internally to sponsor that. There's a lot of value to your employees in providing that kind of offering. Looking to your industry, looking to others in your local area to make sure that those needs are being met and providing a partnership there. Again, it's another great way to do some external networking, but still provide a service that's very much needed by everyone in those organizations. We've done a deep dive on supplier diversity in one of our blog posts, so please feel free to dig into that on our website and also reference some of the frameworks that we have there. I hope this is giving you some really good ideas of how to extend your DI work out into the environments that you show up in. And that's a wrap. I'm Michelle, and that's your DEI Minute for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to leave us a review. If you ever have questions, please visit our website or send us an email. You can also sign up for our newsletter and follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Links to everything can be found in the episode notes. This episode was produced and edited by Podgrowth with podcast art by our very own Jamie Applegate.